this one for Verizon. All right, so the title, Verizon embraces Open RAN messaging. Verizon said it now has 130,000 radios in its network capable of using Open RAN or O-RAN specifications. The company has previously framed its efforts in the context of virtualized RAN or vRAN. Okay, so the vRAN piece is not new. We've been tracking this for the last couple of years. When Verizon chose Samsung as one of its radio vendors, we knew that was the direction they were going. And the last I checked, I think the vRAN cell site count was at like 20-some thousand. And specifically, I think, speaking to the Samsung radio gear. All right, let's read on here. Okay, so 130,000 radios capable of the O-RAN specifications, fresh off the heels of AT&T announcing a 5-year, $14 billion agreement with Ericsson for a similar type of initiative. Quote here from Adam Copy. Verizon is fully supportive of O-RAN technology, focused on commercializing an operationally sound O-RAN structure. Our commitment to developing O-RAN standards and to deploy compliant equipment in our active radio access network is helping to drive the industry forward, which will result in a variety of tangible benefits for our customers who expect leading-edge technology from Verizon. Okay, so again, I've described what O-RAN is in previous videos. I've explained it as it pertains to AT&T. I've also explained it as it pertains to Dish. An O-RAN network, or O-RAN as a specification, allows you to adopt an open standard, right? So if you want to get radio gear from Fujitsu, you can do that. If you want to use radio gear from Ericsson, you can do that. If you want to get it from Nokia or Samsung, you can do that. With O-RAN, it's an open ecosystem. The RAN, the radio access networking, is completely open. It doesn't lock you in or tie you into a specific brand or vendor. Ideally, or I should say theoretically, this should keep pricing down for the operators, right? Because they can basically shop with whoever they want, get all types of deals and put up all types of different gear. Something new comes out, there's a new step in technology, they can take that step with the new tech. And it should theoretically drive down costs, right? In the long run, fighting for competition and sales. And then of course, like power savings, right? If they find, a certain vendor is better when it comes to their gear, like all those things come to mind when we think of O-RAN. And then of course, this whole concept of software defined networking, that O-RAN architecture allows you to kind of play with what you could do on your core, with the core side of it, and you just have to worry about getting stuff that's to the standard, right? In previous iterations of these types of developments, Verizon has been very hesitant to kind of move towards O-RAN. They had concerns, right? Is the massive MIMO, the higher order MIMO going to be supported as a part of the standards? They've had their concerns, and those concerns are valid, right? They want to squeeze the most out of their network. And that was kind of one of the things that they were a little hesitant about, especially I remember with Ericsson. And it looks like some of that has kind of receded, right? Some of those concerns has kind of fell back, and they're more comfortable kind of living and operating in the space now with O-RAN. So now you've got Dish, which is a completely O-RAN philosophy. Ericsson is moving to O-RAN. Now Verizon has gone ahead and pulled the trigger and officially announced the direction that they're going with their network. And they're going to go vRAN, O-RAN, that combination. All we got to really hear now is from T-Mobile, I guess. I don't expect them to do anything different. I think it would be weird and unusual if T-Mobile didn't follow suit, right? So expect them to make some kind of a formal announcement at some point if they feel compelled to. Who knows? Let's take a look at some of these details. So Verizon said that 130,000 O-RAN capable radios are on the network. They said there's an undisclosed number of massive MIMO radios. For those of you that don't know what that terminology is, when radios are massive MIMO capable or enabled, that is the best performing gear on the market. That is the highest capacity, highest quality, best performing gear a carrier can put on its network. So some of the numbers you'll hear thrown around in regards to MIMO, like 16T, 16R. Like the T stands for, transmit, R for receive. They're talking about, the higher order MIMO is able to deliver more capacity. So if let's say two tower sites in your area for like, let's say you're it's Verizon or T-Mobile, whoever. If one site has massive MIMO 64T64R and the neighboring cell is 16T16R, you can test the network at those sites and get different performance. The propagation will be different. The speed throughput will be different. The capacity. It makes a difference. Massive MIMO is a hugely important technology. And of course, these numbers that you're seeing, the 16T16R, 64T64R, that transition going up in order and magnitude, that's temporary. That's a stop point. Me and Ricky were talking about it the other day. The next step for MIMO, what would it be, like a double, triple, quadruple in capacity improvements? So you better believe that the carrier networks, they're going to be looking to step it up. And that's where the O-RAN has to go. It has to go in that direction for the higher order MIMO. And that was one of the reservations that I think Verizon had, and I think Ericsson did as well. And so I think they clearly have identified moving forward it's going to be less of a concern. Okay, so vRAN for Verizon, O-RAN for Verizon. Back in 2022, Verizon deployed over 8,000 virtualized cell sites. Right, we're talking about the O-RAN with Samsung and stuff like that. But this new number, that's pretty crazy, 130,000. Think about that, right? Typically, those radios, there's 3 radios on a cell site if it's got 3 sectors, right? And that's if we're talking about like 5G radios. All right, so we're talking about like the massive MIMO stuff, the N77, the C-band, things like that. So this is big news. It says here, Verizon is ordering 7.2x compatible radios from one of its vendors, but the carrier is waiting to fully deploy Open RAN. I wonder who they are referring to. I don't know if that's Ericsson or if that's Samsung. I don't know if anybody knows. I think the next step for Verizon, along with this whole O-RAN announcement, I think is going to be the launching of their SA network. They have been kind of transmitting data across their SA network on data-only devices, not voice lines, but SA is going to be the next move. Here they are kind of discussing it. The company is also slowly making progress in deploying standalone version of 5G. Okay, so what is the standalone version of 5G going to do? It's going to no longer require LTE as an anchor band or a primary band or what other bands are connecting. It'll put you on dedicated 5G channels only, right? So your iPhone 15s, I think your 14s will be supporting it too. Your Samsung Galaxy S24s, your 23s, I think all those are going to default to SA 5G. I'm not sure about the 22s. That's probably the next step, right? Moving towards SA 5G. T-Mobile's already been doing this. Dish has already been doing this. We have been seeing a little bit of talk about AT&T getting ready to launch theirs. They're probably doing some data over their SA network as well, like Verizon. That's the big announcement from Verizon.